Perhaps the biggest, most widespread myth when it comes to pursuing a healthy lifestyle is the idea that the best way to lose weight is to eat less and exercise more, and that'll make us healthy. If you've ever tried that approach, you know that it doesn't work. But because no one's ever offered any usable alternative advice, you keep going back to that method and you find it more and more difficult every single time you try it. Now, Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. The truth of the matter is that practice works against our God-given natural design, and it sets us up to have a lifetime struggle with our weight. 1 Corinthians 12:31 says, "But earnestly desire the higher gifts, and I will show you a more excellent way." There is a better way to weight management, and I want to share that with you in this episode. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Christian Healthy Lifestyle Podcast, where I help Christians over 40 maximize their health potential so they can age gracefully and live abundantly. I'm your host, David Sandstrom, naturopathic doctor and biblical health coach, and this is episode number 168. This is going to be a 2-episode series. In this episode, I want to put to rest the calories in versus calories out myth. And in the next episode, I'm going to talk about why it is that some people, no matter what they seem to do, they just can't seem to lose those stubborn pounds. And I want to give you a more productive approach to weight management. But before we get started, I've got a couple of announcements for you. The first one is you can find my website at a new URL. I've secured the URL chlpodcast.com. It's a new URL. My website is davidsandstrom.com, but I find a lot of people have trouble spelling my last name, and that's why I secured christianhealthylifestyle.com. But the feedback from that has been it's a lot of typing. So I secured CHL Podcast, stands for Christian Healthy Lifestyle, chlpodcast.com. It's a lot shorter. It's easier to type. And if you go to any one of those URLs, you're going to get the same website. So now there's 3 ways to access my website, but I recommend using chlpodcast.com. That should be the easiest way to go. Do you like my new decor here in the background? I added some sound panels. Hopefully that's going to improve the sound quality a little bit. I hope you can notice that. It adds a little bit of a different look to the studio here. I hope you like it. I think it looks kind of cool. So anyway, the second thing I want to share with you, and this is huge, this is going to be the start of something great. As many of you know, I used to do health coaching in an office, brick and mortar. I no longer do that because I'm focused here on the podcast. But since I've been podcasting, I've had quite a few people reach out to me and ask me to do private health coaching with them, and they want to pay me for it. But up until now, I've had to tell them I don't do that anymore. My focus is on the podcast now. Well, I'm ready to jump into the health coaching arena again. But this time, I want to do it at a 21st century level. My plan is to start an online membership community that'll complement the podcast and my book, but significantly expand the content. Right now, I'm in the process of creating several online courses that'll be for sale on my website as one-off purchases. Now, feel free to do that if you want, but in the coming launch of the membership club, as a member of the community, you can get access to all those courses with your monthly membership fee, which will be substantially discounted for founding members. I would also like to do regular live Q&As with myself and some interesting guests where you can interact with me and the guest and get your questions answered. Of course, we'll have a group of like-minded believers that want to pursue graceful aging and abundant living God's way. I also think it would be nice to have a weekly newsletter that's only available to the members. I'll maybe even have some office hours where members can schedule an appointment with me and have a little one-on-one health coaching time. I can help you move the needle on your health building efforts. That's an idea I have. But again, I want the founding members to give me input and feedback and let me know what it is that you'd like to see in the health club. So as a founding member, you'll have a chance to shape what's in there and what the membership club turns into, because I'll be soliciting feedback from the founders. If that sounds intriguing to you, I invite you to reach out to me. Shoot me an email at david@davidsandstrom.com, or you can use my SpeakPipe voicemail service. That's on any of my recent show notes pages. This episode is chlpodcast.com/168. And of course, you can find the SpeakPipe voicemail tool right there. Now, I'm looking for people to join as founding members and get a substantial discount off the regular pricing. As I roll out the new content and more features, including more and more online courses, the price is going to have to go up. But you'll be locked in at the founding member pricing. So don't miss out on this opportunity to get in on the ground floor and be a part of something special. Reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you, and I can give you some more of the details. You have my permission to pause this episode and do it right now. I'll be waiting here for you when you get back, I promise. So let's talk about calories in versus calories out. Now, we need to start off by defining what is a calorie. A calorie is the heat energy required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water 1 degree Celsius. That heat energy is measured in a laboratory with a device called a calorimeter. Now, proponents of the calories in, calories out theory believe that weight loss is a simple linear equation. It's a matter of calories in versus calories consumed, and there's nothing else to it. It's a straight line. People will point to the first law of thermodynamics, which is the conservation of energy, which states that energy can neither be created nor lost. It simply changes form. Now, that's true. But if we believe in that theory, if we consume more than we've burned, we gain fat. And if we consume less than we've burned, we lose fat. Now, there is some truth here. If we overeat enough, we will gain weight. And if we starve ourselves enough, we'll lose weight. But that process is not a simple linear equation or a straight line on an XY graph. Our bodies are far more complicated than that. Strictly applying that first law of thermodynamics in such a rigid fashion would be correct if human beings were closed systems. But human beings are not closed systems. All living organisms, including human beings, are open systems. We exchange energy with our environment. That's the reason why calories in versus calories out is not a simple linear equation. It's far more complex than that. Now, we hear the word metabolism tossed around quite a bit. But what does metabolism actually mean? Well, your metabolism is how your body takes up nutrients, how it makes energy with those nutrients, and what it does with that energy. Now, that process is incredibly complex and unique to every person. Now, remember the concept of vitalism? We've talked about this on previous episodes. Our bodies have a God-given built-in intelligence, and our default setting is health. Psalm 139:14 says, "I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well." God's design for our metabolism is absolutely exquisite. Again, a calorie is a measure of energy. If we take in more energy than the minimum required to keep us alive, storing that energy as body fat is not the only option our bodies have. We can think of this in terms of currency or money. If a corporation is making a profit and they have a good year and they have some excess money to spend, saving that money in the bank is not the only option that company has. A prudent business leader would use that money wisely to maximize the wealth of the firm. Now, they have a lot of options. They could create a profit-sharing program for their employees. They could do a stock buyback. They could invest in new equipment or more efficient manufacturing processes. They could expand their reach by opening new stores or build new manufacturing facilities. They could spend more on marketing. Our bodies are also very smart, and they have options as to what to do with that excess currency or energy. Saying that the only thing our bodies can do with excess energy is store it as body fat is the equivalent of saying that the only thing a profitable corporation can do with their extra money is save it in the bank. If our bodies find themselves with excess energy, that energy can be used in all kinds of different ways. Our bodies may choose to spend some of that currency or energy on boosting the immune system, or maybe on detoxification. And let's not forget structure. Structure is cells, tissues, and organs. Our bodies are in a constant state of repair and replacing old, worn-out cells. The epithelial lining of our gut or our digestive tract gets replaced every 7 to 10 days. Our skin gets replaced every 28 to 42 days. Our bodies are constantly creating new cells and recycling or eliminating old worn out ones, and that requires energy. So if we're metabolically healthy, our bodies will spend that currency or that excess energy on efficiently making us stronger and producing more physical vitality. There's a term that's used to describe a person that's not metabolically healthy. We call it metabolic syndrome. What's one symptom that everyone with metabolic syndrome has? Excess belly fat. So I would suggest that most of the time that excess fat is not because that person has no discipline or can't control what they eat and is constantly overeating. That excess fat is a symptom of a metabolism that's not working efficiently. That's why I often say we don't lose weight to get healthy. We get healthy in order to lose weight. If we pursue health, we create an environment where our bodies will use excess energy efficiently and not store that energy as body fat. Now, let me say that I don't recommend regularly counting calories for anyone, but that doesn't mean that there is no value whatsoever to counting calories. It can give us an approximate measure of how much food we're consuming in a day, but its usefulness pretty much ends there. We can lose weight by restricting calories, but if we're gritting our teeth and white-knuckling our way through the process, and our willpower is constantly battling against our hunger, eventually hunger is going to win that battle because our survival instincts are stronger than our willpower. Eventually, our survival instinct will kick in and overwhelm our willpower. Now, it's important to understand that food has potential energy, but not all that energy gets extracted and used by the body. For example, a liter of gasoline has the same potential energy as 2 pounds of body fat. But if we drank a liter of gasoline, it will never turn into body fat. Our physiology must be taken into consideration. 5 pounds of grass has the potential energy to create 1 pound of muscle. Now, ruminants like cows or lambs or bison are capable of doing that. Human beings are not. If we ate grass, we would not put on muscle like a cow does. We don't have the physiology to make that happen. We must take our physiology into account. Now, there's a great deal of shaming that goes on in nutrition and fitness worlds because of the belief that overweight people are just gluttons. I've had a lot of practitioners tell me that they believe the reason why their clients aren't meeting their weight loss goals is because they're not following their trainer's instructions carefully enough. They say things like, I don't know what these people are eating on the weekends. Of course, that can be true, but I would suggest that most of the time it's not. We're told by nutrition experts that a pound of fat is equal to 3,500 calories. So if we want to lose 1 pound of body fat, we have to create a 3,500 calorie deficit. Or if we have a 3,500 calorie surplus, we'll gain 1 pound of fat. Again, this is a complete oversimplification of what's going on. Our bodies are capable of handling a few extra calories now and then and rerouting that energy to something other than fat stores. Our bodies make energy in the form of ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, from the food that we eat. That energy is used to keep our hearts beating, to maintain our body temperature, for muscle contraction, and a whole lot more. Now, as I said earlier, an important step in our metabolism is when our bodies use the nutrients from the food we eat and make energy out of it. Now, the generation of new cells and the elimination of old, worn-out ones requires energy. Our bodies are also capable of eliminating excess calories as waste. Feces, urine, and sweat have some caloric value. They've measured this in laboratories. Somewhere between 2.1 and 9.2% of total calories consumed is excreted in the stool. There's a little bit of a tighter range in the urine. Between 3.2 and 3.5% of calories consumed are excreted in the urine. Now, the reason for the ranges is that people are different. And they're different in terms of how efficient they are at extracting energy from the food or eliminating that potential energy from the food in the form of feces and urine and sweat and even breath. We're all different in terms of how efficient we are at extracting and using or eliminating those excess calories. So we've also got to consider the source of the calories. Now, here's an article published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition, and they had this to say. It's inappropriate to assume that the only thing that counts in terms of food consumption and energy balance is the intake of dietary calories and weight storage. Well-controlled studies suggest that calorie content may not be as predictive of fat loss as is reduced carbohydrate consumption. Biologically speaking, a calorie is certainly not a calorie. Now, if you want to read that article for yourself, you go to my website and look at the show notes there. But in other words, where a calorie comes from, the source of those calories matters. Whether those calories come from protein, carbohydrate, or fat matters. Carbohydrates from a glass of orange juice are different from carbohydrates from a starchy potato, for instance. A protein from legumes is different than a protein from a sirloin steak. Fat from an avocado is different from fat from highly processed seed oils. Also, the macronutrient ratio has to be considered as well. Do you see the complexity here? Not only that, even if we wanted to embrace counting calories, we could never actually do it. Here in the U.S., federal food labeling laws allow the caloric estimate on the food label to be off by as much as plus or minus 20% as compared to the actual caloric value. So even if we dutifully read the labels and keep track of all the information on that label, we could be off by as much as 20% plus or minus. In terms of balancing calories in and calories out, that's a massive discrepancy. It leaves us with, where do we turn? Where do we go from here? Why is the law written that way? Well, because it's nearly impossible to accurately measure the exact potential energy that any given food has. It's always an estimate. And with estimates, you need ranges. So they allow for ranges, plus or minus 20%. And there's also something called the Atwater factors. The Atwater factors is a formula. And that formula assumes that a gram of carb and a gram of protein both have 4 calories, and a gram of fat has 9 calories. Now here again, these numbers are only estimates, and those estimates have been shown to be off by upwards of 32%. Look at this article here published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. It's entitled, Discrepancy Between the Atwater Factor Predicted and Empirically Measured Energy Values of Almonds in Human Diets. Here's what they had to say. The Atwater factors, when applied to almonds, resulted in a 32% overestimation of the measured energy content. Again, you can find the links on my website show notes. If we add in the Atwater factors, 32% discrepancy, to the already allowed 20% discrepancy on the food labeling, we see that caloric value stated on the food label could be off by as much as 52%. And that's using legal, customary, and accepted standards. That alone should be enough to give up on the idea of counting calories. Now, someone might be thinking right about now, okay, maybe I can't count the calories coming in, but I can certainly count my calories going out because my Fitbit or my Apple Watch or the machine at the gym gives me a caloric readout. Well, once again, those numbers are rough estimates at best. They're generic because they don't accurately account for metabolic individuality. All right, so that's some reasons why we should not put too much weight on counting calories. On the next episode, I'm going to be talking about why people have trouble losing weight, and I want to give you some alternatives to this calories in, calories out, eat less, exercise more advice. I'm going to give you some solid advice that you can sink your teeth into that help you keep the weight off for a lifetime. Now, I want to remind everyone about the opportunity available right now with the new membership club. My goal with the club is to serve you, the Natural Nation, better by providing resources that guide you in your healthy lifestyle journey. I want to create a community of like-minded people where we can support one another, find accountability, share resources, and embrace the Christian healthy lifestyle together. We're better together. I encourage everyone listening to become a founding member and be involved in the process of shaping what this membership club turns into. You can shoot me an email at david@davidsandstrom.com, or you can leave me a voicemail on my SpeakPipe link on any of the show notes pages, any of the recent show notes pages. This is episode number 168. Now, in the next episode, as I just said, I'm going to be covering why people struggle to lose weight, and I'm going to be sharing some of the specific research in the medical literature and shed some light on that topic. And I'm going to be presenting a more excellent way to lose weight and keep it off for life. That's it for now. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Go out there and live abundantly. I'll talk with you next time. Be blessed.